Hello and welcome to the Practical Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Paul Morton, and we are talking about leadership, management, and the various lives that surround it. It's my joy, delight, and privilege to bring into my studio some of the smartest, wisest people I've been able to find for your delectation and enjoyment. And I hope that you do get a lot out of the conversations that we have here. When you realize that your management team has grown too fast, or you've inherited a new team, and the fastest, best lever you have for growth and improvement is attached firmly to those managers, get in touch. I help you run management, coaching, and training programs that'll make a big difference really quickly. You can find me at the Practical Leadership Academy website and on all the usual social channels. Fran O'Connor, thank you very much indeed for joining me. You are a leadership coach, team trainer, and so much more. Tell us all about it.
Yes, so hello, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm a leadership coach. I'm a profile coach, which is essentially helping senior women find and get the visibility and influence that they deserve through coaching and a bit of personal PR. I come from a PR background, so I worked in PR for about 20 years. So I kind of have that sweet spot of helping people overcome their challenges, get out there, and then actually sort of give some tangible results, support them with some tangible results for that. So it's quite a nice coming together of all my experience. And I also am a partner at a company called The Brick Coach, which is all about basically creating really healthy, high-performing teams. And we use techniques such as Lego Serious Play. It's with Amal Gambouni, and it is excellent fun.
That's so
But yeah, I'm also a mother of two to Barney and Lily Rose, who are 3 and 5, wonderful and wild in equal measure, in the thick of it, but absolutely loving it.
Do you know, I think maybe 70% of the practical things that I've learned about leadership and that and coaching and getting people to do things has come from the kids. It's totally come from the kids. Watching them learn. I mean, my background's L&D and HR and stuff like that. We're watching them learn and in real time and trying to get them to do stuff or get to understand things or working with them. Wow, what a journey.
It's fascinating. It's such a learning things that you think are gonna, you really have to, I've really learned to do a lot of that when they slip out about something, having to, your instinct is just to be like, will you shut up? But actually you just have to sort of go, yeah, I understand. I feel like that sometimes. And God, that makes me angry too. And as soon as you start, it like diffuses it completely when you start acknowledging how they're feeling. What a learning curve.
I mean, so the pacing and leading thing, right? So you want to get somebody to do something. I mean, so it's the psychology. It's the psychology of children, but it's the psychology of anybody. If you want somebody to do something, you equate your stage and whatever that thing is with them. Oh yes, that exactly. That is a challenge. That's whatever it is. My favorite thing. And then you get permission from them almost to nudge them in an open direction.
Yeah, exactly. What a great analogy. Never thought of it before like that.
Oh yeah. So you've been around the block. Right? Obviously, but been around the block. Tell me, how and when did you first take on the mantle of being a people manager?
So I'd worked in PR, as I mentioned before, for almost 20 years. And I'd worked at big global agencies and smaller startups in leadership positions in both. About 2 years ago, the honest truth is I completely burnt out.
Wow.
I folded up like an old laptop one day and just was like, I can't do it anymore. There'd been a lot of circumstances. I was partner at a company. I had my kids were 1 and 3. We were moving house. COVID had just happened. It was an absolute, it was obvious. I didn't feel bad about it because it made so much sense that it happened.
The perfect storm.
Oh, I was going to use a more sweary version of that, but it was a perfect storm. And at that point, I was very, very fortunate enough to be, for the first time ever in my life, in a position to make a decision about what I wanted to do next. And I had a great career in PR. It's so versatile. It's so clever. I love doing the brand stuff. But if I was completely honest with myself, the thing that I loved the most was the people. It was managing the teams, getting people, helping people get their promotions, managing a challenging client, influencing a client. I was quite good at the sort of salesy pitching side of things because I would listen well and understand what they wanted. And likewise with the team, I was always very good at kind of making space for people and giving the right amount of guidance to really grow. So I took a little bit of time off. I'm historically quite terrible at not charging at everything in front of me. So, but I did allow myself some time, and yeah, took a few months off, and then retrained to be an executive coach, which I loved,
Yeah.
and then actually quickly found myself in another kind of L&D role where so I was doing facilitating and training and coaching women and people. So I probably lent towards women more, but it was kind of helping them find their voice and use their voice with more impact within the industry, and also team chemistry. So developed a whole load more skills doing that alongside doing my day-to-day coaching. And now I am starting to really go full speed ahead with my own business in those areas without any distractions.
Good for you. Bravo. Well done.
Much.
Survivors make interesting people.
Lovely. Love that.
Oh. I mean, honestly, I think the female approach thing is, I think 80% of the people that I work with are male. Could be because I'm a bloke. Who knows? Good. I mean, you want to empathize with some things, and yeah, been there, done that.
Exactly.
The women I work with are probably, I don't know, if you're listening to that, both of you, hi. They're all a type, and I think they're a thing. So yes, I know what you mean. Through this whole burnout challenge, reorienting yourself into the new world, if you come across, when you come across people that you're working with who are going through the same thing, what are you going to advise them? What's the advice you would give to somebody in that situation?
I suppose it really depends on what it is that's burning them out. So, you could get burnt out from a toxic relationship work because it's extremely draining. You could be getting burnt out because you're juggling a family. You could be getting burnt out because you don't love what you do. And so it's just making you a lot more tired and just hating, you just don't enjoy it. And that becomes extremely draining. So there's lots of different reasons people could burn out. I think, if you break it down, ultimately, the first thing to think about is what's my exit strategy?
Yeah.
So if there are things, I'm a really big believer that knowing when to walk away from something, if you can, is a really, really great skill. But I don't take it for granted that not everyone is a position that they can walk away from something. So ultimately, if it's toxic relationship at work, or it's there's not the right flexibility, or the culture isn't working for you as a new parent, you've got to try and find ways to repair it first if you can't walk away from it. So it is giving feedback to senior leads, to create psychologically safe spaces for you to talk about things. It's literally looking at the policy, what influence you might have in that company to change the policy and the culture. Who can you speak to get them to lead by example a little bit more if it is about new mums? Or how can you get people to be more vocal about their struggles that everyone's experiencing, just so people simply understand it a bit more? And then I think if you're hitting walls everywhere on how you could literally improve the structural or policy change within your company, or have honest conversations with people that you have a bad relationship with, then that's when you need to start thinking about what your exit strategy could be. And that can just be baby steps. So it might be you're in a position that you can just walk away. And if you can, do it as soon as you can. Get it out, because there is nothing in this world more important than your health and your mind. And the longer you let these things go on, the more it is going to eat away at you. And then the longer it will kind of affect you after it as well. And the longer it will take to recover or get over it. So if you can, really do be brave. If you can't, it's about baby steps. So it's, start zhuzhing up your LinkedIn, start writing, like write a list of, this is what I love, this is what my skills are, this is how I could make money from it. These are the kind of companies. So literally just every day do little incremental gains towards working on your exit strategy. And that can immediately give you such a sense of relief because you know you're working on it. Um, so I think it's that if you can just understand, listen to your body, listen to your mind, and walk, get out. And if you can't, take those baby steps. Let's do something every day towards how you change the situation for yourself. And if it is a bad dynamic at work, or it is a person or a culture, then think of little ways that can improve it. Is it, do people need to be understanding how to give feedback better? Do people need to be listening better? Like, what training could people be having to diffuse that situation? So there's various different steps, but that would be my advice. If you can, go, be brave, listen to your mind. If not, take those little baby steps for your own sanity towards it.
Totally. I mean, we spend so much time at work, and then in the corollary to the fact that every act of kindness leaves this beautiful ripple of energy that just circulates around the universe, is that every time you come home grumpy from work, what's the story? The office boy kicked the cat, right? So it cascades all the way down. Boss has a bad day, somebody has a bad day, you have a bad day, you go home. Guess who's going to have a bad day? Right? Your family's going to have a bad day. Your cat's going to get a boot up the backside. I'm not advocating animal cruelty. There's this cascade, that works both ways.
I honestly couldn't agree more, and I've really noticed it at times. I've always been one of those people that has had an extremely active internal urgency siren. So I've always made work, like I will receive an email from work and it will be urgent, even if it's not urgent in my mind. I don't know where it comes from, but historically I have always been like, yeah, it's
With your
just,
parents.
yeah, it is. It's always about them, isn't it? But and I've always been bad at that, and I have had so many learnings from my own bad habits. But the one thing I really noticed was just how appalling I was being around the kids. I would get home, and when you're just like on edge, you've got absolutely no patience whatsoever. They're going through their own stuff, and my 5-year-old having to tell me to get off my phone. I mean, that's so depressing.
Yeah.
It's
Totally.
You've got to look out for these things, because the time that you have with your kids is precious. And your work,
Listen.
they won't give an S. When you go, it's but your kids, it matters to them that you are present with them. That was such a big learning for me over my sort of busiest years. Oh my gosh, don't take it out on the kids, because you do bring it home.
And you come home after a shitty day and you have a glass of wine, which makes it all worse.
Well, an interesting point, because I think one glass of wine takes the edge off.
Takes the edge.
And I parent better a little bit drunk.
This is I saw this wonderful thing. One of my NCT classes. It was something like, and this is Mummy's special juice for making her clever.
It works.
So, would you have what sort of how-to advice would you give somebody, like a new manager, first aid advice to help them out?
I think the most important things when you are a manager are to do with listening, really listening, and feedback. I think feedback is such an important piece of the puzzle, and how you do it, and when you choose to do it, and the way in which you choose to give it. And I think the most important piece of that is really, really, really listening, understanding what motivates a person. Now, there are various frameworks that should be used to give feedback, because it's what the issue is, what the impact of the thing is, how it could have been done differently. There are these great frameworks that remove emotion, they keep it specific, they keep it focused, and it's very easy for people to understand when there's an example and it's kind of without emotion. But I also think, and I've experienced this firsthand so many times, there are people that are motivated by having a softer approach to feedback. So you still say what it is, but you have to reinforce some positives around them. And I think the shit sandwich gets quite a hard time because I understand why people just think, just say, just, just say it. But I do think for certain people, they need to be reinforced and reminded of the things that they're doing great, but this needs work. And for me, that makes perfect sense. However, for other people, they need to hear it direct. They need to, like, they don't want the fluff or the puffery. They just want to know, what do I need to do? And it's like with anything, if you're sending an email to those kind of people, don't like me, how are you? How was the weekend? No worries if not. They don't want any of that. They just want, tell me what to do and when I need it by. And I think it's so important to understand how those different people work and adapt and tailor how you manage them and how you give them feedback. I know some people might think that it's a bit, I don't know, too soft to handle the the people that are motivated by recognition. I know that it can sound jarring to people, but I have genuinely seen people really, really high performing, so much potential people get absolutely beaten down and lost their confidence and their mojo just because either the feedback was relentless or they were being overly critiqued, or it just, there never seemed to be positive stuff coming through. And there will have been reason for them to get positive stuff. I think I do think it's really, really important to understand how people want to be managed, how they want to receive feedback. And actually, is that all in one go? Is that in little, is it every time they send an email? And some people it might be like that, but others it's like, block out every 2 weeks on a Friday, I'm going to give you some feedback. I think you really, really have to tailor it so you can keep these people high performing. It all comes back to that. If that's what works to keep these people high performing, then you should do it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I love the shit sandwich. It's yeah, this was great. That was crap, but this is great.
It sounds so basic when you say it like that, and I like.
There's a bugger with it though. My experience of it. I mean, I'm totally with you. That you need to be. I think there's a ratio as well. It's 7 to 1. I think it was. It's seven positive pieces of feedback to every one negative, or
Yeah,
creative, or constructive, or call it what you want. And if you're not doing that, then, well, either the person's really, really competent and shouldn't be in the team, or you're not particularly competent and you're not listening to them, as you said, you're not actually being aware of them. The challenge, I think, if you come with the shit sandwich and you say, this is great, that every time you give them praise, they're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
yeah, that's a really good point. It is certainly not without its flaws, and you don't want to, if you're giving feedback on something, does it make sense to pull something completely irrelevant to bring it over here? But I think it's not. It is about how you're making people feel to motivate them.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really understanding. Of course, if someone is really underperforming and actually there isn't positive feedback to give them, then you have to work out how you are really helping them get to where they need to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do just think it's just about the tailoring it and how important it is. Take the time to notice and understand and listen and how they best receive feedback or best like being managed.
It's the people misinterpret the golden rule, love thy neighbor as thyself, right? It's, I need to treat people as I want to be treated. Not quite.
Yes.
I need to treat people as they want to be treated, which involves actually understanding them to a degree. Because if I treat you like a middle-aged Scots bloke, not going to have that much success.
Probably not, no.
No. So there's that tailoring and based on the understanding of the individual.
The one thing that I do see companies do, I completely agree with that, and that's so perfectly put. One of the things I do see quite a lot of companies do is they sort of spend money up front or make a big song and dance about doing personality tests or like people's colors or what's it called, Belpin, or those like different things that you do.
Belgian personality types or MBTI or Voodoo. Some of them are really shonky.
Yeah.
Gallup Strengths is my favorite one. That seems to be actually reasonable.
Okay, that's interesting. But
Mm.
they sort of set it all up front that we want to understand you and how you communicate and how to get the best out of you and where you go with your stress when you're stressed and how we can help you. And there's two things that sometimes happen with that. One is that everyone just completely ignores the results anyway. And then the other is that people can feel quite pigeonholed as a certain way. And then it might be like, oh, well, this person's a blue. She likes process. We don't need them to do like, it can, or this person's a red and not less a yellow. So she's not like a really kind of extroverted. So people can sometimes feel a bit, I don't want to be pigeonholed by those things. And that's when they'll be being misused by the company because they can be used really effectively. And I've seen it done, but I've also seen it be completely ignored and it kind of get under some people's skin a bit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, misuse, totally. Misuse and just using the wrong damn thing. Because some of them are frankly, not fit for toilet paper. So, anyway, I did one once. It was a wonderful woman called Teresa Wood, and she was the Gallup Strengths Finder coach and a recruiter. She filled out some of my sales team based on that. And she had us all write down the strengths. You get 4 or 5 of them. I think you get 20, but the top is 4 or 5. Had us write them out on little folded cards on our desks in the olden days when we still went into the office. And that was wonderful. It was really good to see that. You sort of engage people around it. It's quite fun to do. It sort of clarifies them.
Yeah, yeah, I completely get that.
So we're talking about making sure we're listening, making sure we're treating people as they want to be treated. If you had one message you could share with every, let's say you could write 10,000 billboards and they were plastered all around the world, what is the message you would put on it?
I thought about this I thought about this before and
Doesn't have to be professional, support
yeah.
Manchester United.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
I think just to sort of slightly divert the question ever so slightly, one of the things that I have experienced most with training and coaching senior women is and this is probably what I'd want to say to the world a bit more is that there's a few different things that like consistently come through. They aren't creating the space or the time to think about themselves. They aren't making the time to work out who they are and what they want to say and how they want to get out there, or even just literally put time to themselves. And that when you train them, you can see this like sort of confusion and happiness and relief on their face that they have literally made the time to do it. So that is one consistent theme with all of them. The second thing is they all, not all of them, and again, I caveat this knowing that you can't make massive sweeping generalizations like this, but there was at one point, this was 100% of my female clients were all holding themselves back. They were holding themselves back, whether that was in a meeting or whether it was going for the promotion. They weren't saying the things that they wanted to say. They weren't challenging in the moments they wanted to say. They didn't want to go and put themselves out there, whether that was on LinkedIn or, do an industry piece or do a talk at the company, because they didn't feel like they had great opinions, or they didn't feel like they were sort of a bit scared of what people might say. They found it cringy. And I suppose one of there's a few different variations of that, of what I would put on a billboard for them would be your fear of looking stupid or your fear of cringe is holding you back.
Mm.
Or there's, this kind of, I was, I wanted, I was like, just do it. but also I think that already exists. Just say it. Like it's just this whole do it. You're holding yourself back. You're punishing. Your fear of something that doesn't even exist is holding you back. No one is thinking about you as much as you are thinking about you. You just need to do it.
That's the line.
Yeah, that's something that's said quite a lot. I used to say it a lot in my last job as well, but it is, that people think that people are really thinking about you, and they're not. They're rooting for you. Get out there, do it, say the thing. And the only other thing that's quite interesting, and this kind of comes back to the feedback discussion and good management, is there's a lot of women that I have coached and trained that you can tell have a lot of they're carrying a lot of emotional baggage from years of feedback that probably hasn't been delivered to them very well, and probably was too personal. And from some of the
bossy, stop being so bossy, so pushy. Yeah, and then it's good
yeah,
work. I wouldn't have done it differently.
yeah, exactly that unspecific, personal.
Yeah.
And it, it was like that for a lot of these women working their way through the ranks, and that they're carrying a lot of that with them. And again, that's what makes them scared to put themselves out there and also be themselves, because they've probably had to alter themselves quite a lot. This is particularly for people in some of the more creative industries like advertising or PR or marketing, that have been quite male driven. They've had to sort of take on a persona or hear these things quite a lot to get to where they are. And I think it sits with them. It really sits with them, and they have to work through that.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Give that, guys. Think about how you're delivering it.
Totally. Totally is. I mean, there was a be yourself, everyone else is taken. What?
Yeah.
And then the halo effect. The halo effect, that thing that, I mean, the question I ask people about that is, are you really that arrogant? I didn't think you were. What?
Yeah.
Do you genuinely think that everybody's watching you? Oh, I'm so nervous about, no, that's arrogance. How dare you think that about? And it's just the incongruence of that can help with this, and the sprank, that
Absolutely.
epiphanical moment where you realize that no, genuinely, I don't care about anybody else. So that means nobody's caring about me, which means I'm free.
Exactly. The freedom of that thought. Yeah. There's something I've got to say, but still got my memory's an absolute sieve these days. Sorry.
It's called having two small children running around.
Honestly.
Totally is. I love it. Tell me, is there something then, you've been busy professional for many years now, busy mom. Is there something in particular you've changed your mind about in the last few years?
Oh, that's a really good question. Probably within the last, if I could maybe go back a little bit more than a few years, maybe within the last 10. Does that count? Um, I had such, and again, I think this is something that so many women will feel conditioned to feel. Such a warped view of what good leadership was. And, I had the classic feedback when I would probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, lacked gravitas. I flipping hate the word gravitas. I cannot bear it. And I am sure many, many women will be out there who also hate the word gravitas. It's just associated with a man. Anyway, so I got that feedback when I was at a big global agency. And I think in my head, I thought, because of my personality and the way I am, I'm quite warm, I'm quite conversational, I'm not super corporate. And I really sort of believed that I was just never going to be a good leader. And then I tried to take some of the habits of a culture from one agency to another, and it really didn't work for me. It felt inauthentic. I think I'd probably alienated some of the team there. And I very quickly just changed and thought, and I think this is because of the brilliant culture that agency had created. I was just completely myself. And from that moment on, I led as I would lead as a human, taking on all the learnings that you should and thinking about all the ways that you want to grow a team, grow a business, make people happy. It wasn't just like, I'm just going to airily, fairly be myself. It was considered, but I just did it as myself. And from that moment on, I just went from strength to strength to strength to the point where when I was on the board and partner at another agency, someone literally complimented me on my gravitas or something. Or, it was just like, without even, and I didn't care. I don't want to hear that. I want to know that the team is happy, that we're making money, that I am doing a good job and people think I'm a good leader. And that seemed an absolute impossibility to me when I was a bit more junior. And so, that's ignore being myself as a leader and what that meant to me was my biggest sort of learning and growth.
I have a kind of a big problem with the whole bring your whole self to work thing. I'm not bringing my whole self to work. I'm leaving like 75% of it at home. If I brought some of my more quirky aspects of my personality out at work, it'd be more challenging. Doesn't mean I'm not who I am. But at home I'm quite a sweary person. Actually, I try not to do that at work. I have to blame it, whatever it is. I'm with my wife because she's from New Jersey. You can see the flag there somewhere. I don't know. I've got a little American flag floating around here. Just there, right? There you go. If you're watching in video, you can see the flag. If not, there's an American flag behind me. And my wife's from New Jersey, and New Jersey people are known for their potty mouths, as they say. So we have a bit of a sweary time, and it's challenging around the kids. We try not to. A total diversion. Bringing your whole self. Yeah, this authenticity here, this gravitas here. I think when you think about how you actually behave when people compliment you about that, I think there's probably one word, and it's calm. It's calm. You're not excitable. You're not too bubbly. You're friendly, passionate, inside. You're enjoying whatever, but you're calm because that sets the tone.
Totally.
I'll tell you what. Calm, joy, fear. And you can choose. Right? So present calm, even if you don't feel it.
I think that's very accurate. I think the word gravitas just has a special place in hell for women because I think it's probably something that's been weaponized against them quite a lot.
I've never been called bossy. I'm not a pain in the ass, by the way.
Has anyone ever said to you, "Gosh, you're so independent. You're such an independent man," or like, I don't know, there's all these weird.
What? I'm so independent. Thank you very much. What? No, the thing they just don't. Believe you me, we have our own challenges. The male, especially the middle-aged white male population, right now has our own particular sets of challenges. But yes, we all have our crosses to bear.
One thing I would say is what I think is a bit more interesting than gravitas is charisma. And again, charisma feels like one of those slightly intangible, someone's just got charisma. They'll walk into a meeting and just be really charming and everyone they just love it. But actually what it means is it's how you make people feel, how you listen to people. So that is an even more important skill as a leader than, I suppose it's kind of one and the same, but gravitas in the bin, but having good charisma to get the best out of people is a brilliant leadership skill.
I think if people want to talk about inclusion, right? You should talk about charisma. Charisma is, I think, the act of making someone feel special to the extent that they want to join in.
Yeah.
Being open for other people's opinions and not shutting them down. So that's inclusion. And if you don't include the people around the table, then, well, you're excluding them. And if you're excluding them, apart from the human cost, then it's not particularly nice. You're missing some tricks here, ladies and gentlemen. You're missing some good opportunities to learn some stuff or come up with new ideas. So charisma. Being able to pull people into your orbit and then let them blossom. That's a talent. And it's a learned talent. It's a learned talent. You learn all this stuff.
People think it's a natural gift that people have, but it's not. It's a muscle that can be trained.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like many things. If you think, I mean, if you asked me to deal with financial accounts day in and day out, I can do it. I'm financially literate. I've taught myself how to do it, but please don't ask me to be an FP&A guy. It'll kill me, right? There's some people they can be charismatic, then they're going to go home and hide with a cup of soup. Right? So that
100%.
you can do it. So that is almost the fake it till you make it. You do that all the time. That's what we do. We are situationally observant. Good leaders are situationally observant. They tune in to how can I treat you the way that you need to be treated, want to be treated, so that you will blossom. I will unfold the potential within you.
Yeah, spot on.
All right. What are you working on right now?
So I am focusing on my own kind of coaching, leadership coaching and profile coaching business, while also partnering with the Brit Coach. And just to tell you a bit more about that. So obviously I do leadership coaching. It's something I've been doing for the last few years with senior men and with senior women, which has been incredible, and I love it so much. And now I'm kind of building out my offering because I have this PR background, and I've done a lot about helping women find their voice in their industry. And it's all about kind of visibility and profile raising. So I'm kind of positioning myself as a profile coach, which basically means I can help you work out whatever struggles it is you're having with your profile, whether that is at work or whether that's in the industry or whatever it is. And visibility and profile can mean many different things within a business. And so often that's the feedback that I would get from people about they're struggling to find their voice in their company. They need more visibility. We know visibility is linked to success. It's just a no-brainer. Women do not love self-promotion as much as men. So these are a lot of the struggles that we have. And I'm not suggesting men love it, but I think women struggle with it more. So it's kind of an offering that will coach them through challenges that they are experiencing, whether that's a career change, a toxic relationship at work, and a new parent coming back, which obviously I have extensive experience in, and then coach them through their challenges, help them work out ideas and strategies to help them leverage their visibility, and then sort of bring that into practical outputs as well, because I have that PR experience. I can sort of do the whole piece for people, which is quite nice. And then I also partner with the Brit Coach and Amal Gambuni, which is an absolutely awesome coaching business, training and coaching business that does company-wide and smaller group training. It's all about, so some of the stuff we've spoken about before, like creating really healthy, really high performing teams, creating great chemistry through listening, conflict resolution, collaboration, an absolute array of group training, which I really, really loved doing in my last job as well. And we use Lego serious play as a technique for it, which is so effective. It is unbelievable watching people use it, and it's so different to anything things that's out there. So yeah, it's used by NASA and like the military, and I don't know if you've ever done it, but it's really cool watching it in action. So a few different things going on, and I'm really excited by all of them.
Wow. Is there something perhaps then, looking back over the last 20 years, you would like to thank your younger self for having done? What did young man do so well that has led you to be the magnificent human that you are today?
So this is really corny, but it is being a good friend. I was trying to think, I don't think there's anything professionally, it's all a huge learning, and I love that. But my friends, being a good friend has been probably my greatest, apart from my children and my husband, caveat. My friendships have been my absolute bedrock of my life. I'm still friends with my school pals. We've been mates for more than 30 years. I've got an amazing group of friends from university. I've got some brilliant friends that I made in my early 20s. I'm so lucky with my friendships. And I am so glad that I lent into my people-pleasing tendencies with my friends. Yeah, they really. That's the thing that makes me think I've done some stuff right.
That's a superpower. That's a
Yeah.
superpower. If you think about it, that's a superpower. You know, being somebody who's there for their friends, being somebody who has strong friendships. It is both a skill and a foundation. It is both an ability, a behavior set, but an ability you have to make people feel wanted, but also gives you as a human that sense of community and belonging that we all desperately, desperately need, and so increasingly few people have because we move around. Or we sit in our backside in our little home offices for too long and don't get out.
Yeah. So
I recently decided I'm going to stop shaking hands. I'm a hugger now. I'm a hugger now.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Totally. I was like kind of professional at one point. I was out with somebody and I gave this guy a hug and he went, "Oh, we're hugging then, are we?" And I said, "Yes." And he went, "Okay." And he gave me this big hug. It was just magnificent. It was that magnificent. Why not?
Absolutely.
Life's too short.
Love it.
How can people find you, Fran? When they're desperate for some senior women's coaching, profile raising, team training, Lego playing, how do they find you?
That was a lovely sell. Thank you. So on LinkedIn, I'm Francesca O'Connor, formerly Francesca Rich. My website is being built at the moment. I'm re-finessing it. So LinkedIn is the best place to find me for now.
Okay. Do you have a URL for your website yet?
I don't. Not yet. Not yet.
Well, as soon as we have that, we'll come back and we'll update this. So if you're listening to this in a few years' time, because these are artifacts, this is the joy of this stuff. It's a long tail.
It all began.
Fran O'Connor, leadership coach, expert on profile writing, unpacking the potential of senior men and women. Thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you for joining me. If there's ever anything I can do to help you on your journey, then do please reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn and all the usual sources. Do please subscribe, leave me your 5-star review, and most importantly, get in touch with your comments and feedback. It's really how I grow, and that's what I'm doing this for. Thanks again.